What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and as all of you all already know by now, the EPA and other agencies have been in East Palestine, Ohio, trying to encourage the people that live there that the air is safe to breathe. In fact, just earlier today, they released a new report claiming that the air is safe. And then, of course, what was it? About a week ago, they were all pretending, or maybe they really were drinking the water, but they all released these videos of them gathering around together, taking a sip of nice, refreshing water from East Palestine, Ohio. And they were telling people, it's safe, the water is safe, there's nothing to worry about. And then all of a sudden, what was it? 4 or 5 days later, the same guy that was sipping the water and telling everyone, hey, it's safe, came straight out and admitted, hey, I wouldn't let my kids around this water at all. It's safe for you all to drink. That's okay. Drink up, drink up. Drink the toxic chemicals. But when asked, when they pressed him, when they put him on the spot, and after all of the public pressure on social media, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, the word is spreading about the story. And after all of that pressure, after realizing that the narrative has already crumbled, that people already know what's going on, after realizing that independent journalists have been in the area showing what the water looks like, and it definitely has a chemical sheen. Only after all of that, the EPA head administrator, or whoever he is, finally admitted, the water, I wouldn't let my kids around the water. It's not safe. The creeks aren't safe. The waterways aren't safe. After telling people for weeks that there was nothing wrong with the water. So last night, I'm not sure when I'll upload this video. So let's just say recently, there was a town hall in East Palestine. Now, the CEO of Norfolk Southern was supposed to be there. He was too scared to come. The second time this has happened in a row. He promises the people he's going to be there, and then he doesn't show up. This time, he sent, I guess, some representatives there to deal with the angry citizens of East Palestine. And there was a lot of stuff that went on at this town hall meeting. But the biggest thing that happened there was they straight up asked the question, can we plant a garden? Can we go in our backyard right now and can we plant some vegetables? Can we plant some fruits? Can we plant? And you know what they said? They said no. So folks, what does that tell you? If they can't plant a garden, then obviously people in this area can't plant crops. And if you can't plant a garden, you can't plant crops, it's because the soil is contaminated. Now, how does the soil get contaminated in areas in East Palestine where the chemicals didn't directly, soak into that soil? Well, that's because there's chemicals in the air. And some of those chemicals settle into the soil. So the reason why they can't plant these gardens in the first place, or they can't plant in the first place in these areas that are well away from the actual scene of the chemical spill, is because chemicals in the air. Now, if there's chemicals in the air and there's chemicals in the soil, what does that tell you? That there's definitely going to be chemicals in the water. Just how the chemicals from the air settle into the soil, it settles into the water. And when it rains, you got, it soaks up in the soil. Some of it gets into the water supply. Some of it gets soaked up, it rains again, and it's an ongoing process of these chemicals, just being spread throughout this land, if you will. So while they're telling people it's safe, it's obviously not. If it's not safe for you to plant in your garden, then it's not really safe for you to be in your backyard. It's not really safe for you to be walking around in this soil. It's not safe for your kids to play outside. It's not safe when a car drives by really fast and all of this soil kicks up. None of this stuff is safe. But I want you all to watch this clip real quick, and then I'll be back with more thoughts.
I am not convinced of anything that they're telling us at this point. It just goes from one piece of information to another piece of information, and they're contradictory pieces of information. 1 minute there's nothing in the air, then we're worried about the dioxins. One gentleman asked if he could plant his garden, and the response was, no, you should not plant a garden. Why not? There's nothing in the air, so nothing settled on the ground. So why would that be a concern? It's just so conflicting, and people, they're getting extremely frustrated, and we're being kept in the dark, and it just seems like somebody's covering things up, and it's Norfolk, and they've got a lot of power in this for sure.
Now, maybe you could help me with the mixed messages you're getting, because I do know the EPA administrator, Mike Regan, had said they had that famous water drinking episode at some woman's home last week, that it was fine. Yet he was saying today, I believe, that kids should stay away from the creeks, not swim in them or go in them or use them. But was he saying that the water is fine to drink? Just what was that about?
Well, they're focusing pretty heavily on the city water. So that, I believe, is what he was speaking on. And the folks like myself and a lot of other people, we're on well water. And what's our solution? We're told not to bathe in it. We're told not to wash our dishes with it. Yeah, what's the solution for us? I would highly recommend nobody doing anything in those creeks, because they're extremely contaminated with high levels of what I found out last night once I demanded an answer is the butyl acrylate is what is in the creek, and pretty high levels of it, along with some other things as well. So yeah, it was good that he brought attention to that and he brought light to that. But that's something that us residents have known for a long time. And if government officials were there when they should have been and saw the thousands of dead fish and frogs and other things in there, that it only takes common sense to know that there's a problem, that this would have been brought to light a lot sooner.
You know, like she was saying, they're all over the place here. As someone who, as you all know, I've been tracking this story very closely, like very closely. And they're changing their story every day. It's hard for me to keep up with these videos, because honestly, I could probably release like 7 or 8 videos a day just on this topic alone, with all of the weird stuff going on and all of the narrative shifts and the way they've changed the story. You know, they've gone from saying this is safe and that's safe, and then we find out, hey, they weren't testing for certain chemicals, and now they're being forced to test for other chemicals. Right now, they're in the process of pulling back up some of these train tracks that they laid down directly on top of the chemical spill that they covered up with gravel. It's so much. It's so much. And their story has changed so much over the course of the last month, because it's been a month since this derailment. A month. And they still can't get their story straight. And the scene of this derailment is still not cleaned up, not even close to being cleaned. And the situation's not even close to being over with. In fact, it hasn't even hardly really begun, because this situation really begins when these people's health starts declining even more. Because it is. It definitely is. The longer they stay out there exposed to that stuff. But what I've noticed here, what they're relying on is the fact that they know that most of us aren't experts when it comes to this stuff. Like, I don't know a ton about chemicals and how all of this stuff works. I don't sit here on these videos and pretend to know. I'm learning a little bit more every day, But I don't know. I'm not an expert when it comes to this stuff. Most of you all watching this video, you don't know about these chemicals. You don't know about how all of this stuff works. You're not an expert in this stuff. Most of the people in East Palestine, they don't know how these chemicals work. They're not an expert on this stuff, and that's what they're relying on. They feel like they could get up on their podiums, grab their little skinny microphones, and give us whatever hibbity blue blah they come up with. Say a few big words, start pronouncing, oh, we got the hydrochloride, clean chemicals out here. Like, they know that for the most part, we don't know about all of this stuff. We rely on the professionals, on the experts. Y'all have spent your life, you've dedicated your life to learning about this type of stuff. We're supposed to be able to trust you and to rely on you for this information, but we know now that we can't. So every day, people are learning more and more about this stuff. You know what I mean? And that's what we're going to have to do. It's become so crazy in this country and around the rest of the world with the amount of misinformation that we're given from the professionals, from the experts. There's a lot of talk about misinformation in this country over the past couple of years. But the real misinformation is coming from the government and from the mainstream media. While people like me and you, we're having to dig through stuff and come up with actual facts. Why are we having to do this? Because we're having to dig through the BS that the experts and the professionals give us with every single news story out there. So what they're trying to rely on here is they're trying to rely on the fact that they know more about this stuff than we do, and they think they can tell us anything and get away with it because we don't really know the difference. We don't know any better. But that has changed. You know, and the people out there, they might not be experts at this stuff, but they know how they feel. They know when they go home and see rashes on their kids' hands and on their arms, they know something's wrong. When they walk outside and they're coughing and they're spitting up mucus, they know something's wrong. And to take it one step further, I think us as Americans who have been paying attention to a lot of this crazy stuff going on, we already know something's wrong. And we already know not to trust what a lot of these people say. We've seen it time and time again. This story is no different. But with that being said, I think it's important. I don't think we have to become experts on every topic. But when these situations arise, we do need to learn. We need to gather what information we can so we're better equipped for whatever is to come in the future. So with that being said, I think it's important that you all watch this little clip right here to learn a little bit more about vinyl chloride and how this stuff affects people. And I'll be right back after this clip.
There were 5 tanker cars carrying 115,580 gallons of it, and it is a flammable toxic gas that's used to make PVC pipe. As you know, a couple days after the derailment, the decision was made to do a controlled release of 1.1 million pounds of it. That was that big Hiroshima-like cloud that you saw. It's been termed one of the worst environmental disasters in American history, and vinyl chloride is the main problem. It's highly mobile in soils and waters, and I'm going to bring a hydrologist up here to talk to you a little bit about some concerns that he's got over in East Palestine. And there's some people that says the chemical should be banned, it's so dangerous, okay? The International Agency on Research on Cancer of the World Health Organization does what's called IARC monographs. They've got a big section about vinyl chloride causing cancer in humans, 2 different kinds of liver cancer, lung cancer, neoplasms of the connective and soft tissue, that's the stuff that connects you, tendons and stuff, and other cancers. OSHA has rules. If you're dealing with vinyl chloride, it's so dangerous, you got to put up this sign to warn your workers. The federal government makes you put up a sign that says vinyl chloride may cause cancer, which is why I'm a little worried about everybody coming in, oh, it's fine. Why do we put the sign up? The EPA, who's been here the last few weeks, has put out, since 1975, learnings that say cancer is a major concern from exposure to vinyl chloride via inhalation. I can't see any of you because of the lights, but my friend that rides the motorcycle that feels terrible every time he rides it, he feels that way because whatever he's breathing at high speed is going in and disturbing the system, okay? It's readily absorbed from the lungs. In other words, it gets from the lungs into the bloodstream in effect, and these are the effects. And they fit like a glove from what I've been reading about the complaints that locals have been having.
So that was definitely some interesting information right there. And like I said, I think it's important that we start learning more and more about all types of stuff, just in general, because that's the world we live in today's world. We can't rely on anyone else. We can basically only rely on ourselves. And that's kind of why, I feel like the internet is a double-edged sword. The internet has led to the decline of our society, as well as it's had its positive effects, as well. Because I feel like we're able to connect with like-minded people. We're able to share these ideas. Without the power of the internet, I don't think that, we would be getting the truth about basically anything at all. The factual information that I get, most of it doesn't come from any of these established official sources, if you will, if you know what I mean. And I think people are starting to move away from watching mainstream media, and they're gravitating towards more of independent journalists, or even people who are providing commentary and stuff like that, because you want honest opinions. You don't want force-fed nonsense talking points that were given from some, big wig weirdo. You know what I mean? And that's what's happening. But let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.